25 years ago, these bizarre structures called the Tower of Babel popped up out of nowhere across the planet, throwing all of humanity into a mysterious game system where normal weapons didn't even scratch the monsters. And right when our race was about to get wiped off the map, a few people who touched the tower awakened magical powers, giving rise to the so-called class bearers who could finally go toe-to-toe with the creatures. But before people could even celebrate that relief, an incurable disease started spreading around the tower. And even though a doctor managed to create a medicine using materials from the monsters themselves, that drug only held back the symptoms for a short time, forcing warriors to climb higher and higher floors in search of a permanent cure, turning into a desperate race for hope, until the young master of the Yaoxing Corporation holds a bombshell press conference claiming he found the key item for the cure inside the perilous Abyssal Demon Tower, revealing that the secret lies within the legendary Abyssal Demon Dragon named Marabolos, leaving reporters totally hyped and asking if the company actually had what it takes to clear a tower with such an insane mortality rate, to which the rich kid replies that they know full well how tough it is, but that they left this mission in the hands of the perfect candidate known to everyone as humanity's strongest mercenary. And the scene cuts straight to the insane fight with an attack from the monster, showing our warrior activating Flaming Dodge to burn his own health and move at high speed, while using his innate perception skill Keen Eyes to try and find an opening on that gigantic beast. But his vision warns him that even if he finds the weak spot, there's no safe path to close in, forcing him to instantly unleash arrow rain to cover the entire area with rapid shots, proving why he's humanity's last hope and the great divine archer of level 99, the legendary Lin Shu Keen Eye, who ends up getting grabbed by the creature's tentacles and spits blood while laughing at the misery, taking advantage of the close distance to pull the bowstring straight with his mouth in a desperate move, asking if this distance is close enough to land a direct hit now, activating the legendary skill Severed Body and Mind, which burns an insane percentage of his health to focus a fatal strike, unleashing a blast so violent that it slices the top of the tower in half and obliterates the creature, making the system screen pop up to congratulate Lin Shu for clearing floor 999 and granting the legendary shield Wall of Size, along with dropping a ring, a legendary armor set, mountains of experience points, and the legendary skill Abyssal Descent, leaving the guy completely exhausted on the ground celebrating that he finally did it, until the system confirms the main quest reward, handing over the divine artifact called Greed, which is the exact key to curing the cursed tower disease, with Lin Shu holding the relic in relief, thinking that now he'll be able to save his little sister Xiao Yu, when suddenly a mocking voice praises the battle, saying it was quite a spectacle, activating the skill, Extreme Cold Sword, behind his back to create ice spikes, which pierce right through our MC's body before he even has a chance to react, leaving the poor guy in shock, unable to understand where that treacherous ice attack came from, while three cowardly figures emerge from the shadows, driving in more sharp spikes to make sure he can't even move, making Lin Shu spit even more blood, completely cornered. And right then a greedy hand reaches out to snatch the divine artifact right before his eyes, revealing the level 99 Archmage Shu Ying, who mocks him, saying how easy it was to take the divine shard without lifting a finger, making our MC glare at the traitor with pure hatred and ask why they're doing this, but she just gives a cynical smirk without saying a word, making way for a cowardly attack straight to his arm, which completely severs our boy's arm, while the assassin Wei Waya spits in his face, calling our MC a slumworm, and saying the corporation only wanted the greed artifact from the very start, while the MC glares at that traitor with an insane thirst for vengeance, making the assassin laugh in his face and bring the blade close to the MC's eye just to taunt him, gouging out our warrior's eye with zero mercy while laughing at his suffering, mocking that the supposed number one in the world is nothing more than easy prey now, until his big partner tells him to cut it out, revealing the warrior Tai Shane, who's also a level 99 senior combatant of the consortium, looking at our MC completely broken on the ground, commenting with disdain that with his body all shredded up like that, it won't fetch anything on the black market, and he even grabs his head, telling him not to complain since he turned down the company's offers and kept dreaming about curing the disease, coldly explaining that the consortium makes tons of cash selling the temporary treatment and would never let a permanent cure ruin their business, telling the assassin to hurry up and finish the dirty job to wipe out the evidence, leaving Lin Shu bleeding on the ground while cursing those bastards, admitting that they deserve to die just as much as the corporation, and that he was a naive idiot for trusting these people. And as the assassin steps up to deliver the final blow, telling him to learn his lesson in the next life, the mage senses something wrong and yells to fall back, But our MC gives one last dark smirk, unleashing all the energy left in his body, sending the cowards into a panic as they realize he plans to drag everyone down to the grave with him, activating the skill Abyssal Descent as a final sacrifice to summon the bloody swamp while the system blares imminent death warnings, showing red alerts flashing nonstop telling them to retreat from battle. And in the middle of the end, he remembers his tragic past when he lost his parents in the first monster attacks from the tower, remembering how lucky he was to become a class bearer and trained day and night without stopping to protect his little sister. Fighting was everything he had until people hailed him as the saint and the great Kinot, only to realize too late that little Xiaoyu hid her illness for a long time just so she wouldn't worry her brother, remembering the girl lying in the hospital bed coughing weakly and saying she was fine, saying that she finally wouldn't be a burden to him anymore, and asking him to live well, leaving our MC completely devastated in tears for failing to protect his sister, haunted by the memories of so many other desperate people begging for medicine in the streets, watching all that suffering happen right before his eyes while being unable to do anything, missing the simple moments where he just wanted to go on walks with his sister and give his family a decent life, wishing from the bottom of his heart to never see such injustice happen again, since the only thing he wanted was to save everyone but ended up betrayed by these scumbags right as his health hits zero, and vowing to slaughter anyone who crosses his path, until the structure trapping the divine artifact begins to shatter completely, releasing the crystal that reacts directly to the burning bloodlust of the MC's soul, making the system announce that the conditions have been met, and the divine shard has been successfully unlocked, revealing something that looks like some kind of eye, and congratulating the player on obtaining the divine artifact of the great sin Greed. Right after that, the loud ringing of an alarm clock starts blaring, showing 8:30 in the morning, until a hand slams down and smashes the device into tiny pieces, showing Lin Shu waking up in his own bed in a cold sweat, not understanding how he's alive when he just died, looking around totally stunned at that simple room. And looking in the mirror, he realizes his body is young again, while a mysterious voice asks what choices he would make if he had the chance to start over, making a mark appear on the MC's hand, and he demands to know who's speaking, at which point a creature manifests inside the room, revealing himself to be Asmodeus, the demon god of greed, making Lin Shu realize that the artifact fused with him right at the moment of his death, while the dark entity warns that he'll drag the kid into the abyss of greed, but will grant him matching power in return, opening the status window that shows our boy at level 1 as an archer with the humble description of a bricklayer's helper who carries 3 bags of cement, leaving the demonic entity laughing with disdain at that basic class, snapping his power to shatter the system screen, calling it a bad joke, triggering the official notice, confirming that player Lin Shu has awakened the hidden class Lord of Greed, channeling an insane purple energy straight into his arms, which materializes into the exclusive limited weapon called Bow of Greed, unlocking the passive trait that permanently increases max health by 1 point for every effective hit he lands with the bow, leaving our protagonist shocked as he realizes the broken potential of stacking max health just by shooting arrows, but the demon quickly cuts the hype short, warning that all great power demands an equal price, unlocking the daily quest Satiate Desire, which requires 30,000 effective shots with the Bow of Greed within 24 hours, mocking that an ordinary person would grind their fingers to the bone trying to pull the bowstring that many times. Not to mention a target has to take actual damage to count as a tribute, making it nearly impossible to find 30,000 living creatures in that neighborhood, warning with a creepy look what will happen if he fails the challenge, while Lin Shu keeps holding the bow in silence, listening to every detail, learning that the punishment is spending a full hour in the demonic prison of greed for every arrow missing from the count, with the demon god offering the choice to give up the Lord of Greed title and live a quiet life as a regular archer using his past memories to protect his sister. But our MC puts on a confident smirk, saying he just tested the bow and it has a draw weight of nearly 200 pounds, commenting that even an enhanced person could only handle 500 shots a day and elite archers might hit 1,000 at most, leaving the entity intrigued. And with pure swagger, he declares that as the Lord of Greed he accepts the challenge, making the demon laugh and ask how he plans to back up that choice, while the MC says the Yaoxing Corporation and all those traders better sit tight, because he's going to collect every single debt very soon. The day has barely started, when suddenly the bedroom door is thrown wide open, revealing little sister Xiaoyu rubbing her eyes and complaining about the racket so early, asking if he's trying to bring the house down, until her eyes land on the table, and she gets completely freaked out seeing the smashed alarm clock, asking if he lost his mind knowing how little money they have left for the month. But our MC doesn't even care about the scolding and pulls the girl into a tight hug, holding his sister with all the love in the world and telling her how good it feels to see her safe, leaving the poor girl completely baffled by that sudden affection, so much so that she awkwardly pushes him away, asking why he's acting so emotional like they just came back from the dead, making Lin Xiu chuckle to himself, knowing full well inside that she has no clue she only had 1 year left to live in the other timeline, while she mentions that, since he's up, she's going to make breakfast, making our boy look at her and swear to himself that this time he won't let that tragedy happen again no matter what, until a harsh, arrogant shout echoes from outside, scaring the girl in the hallway, followed by heavy banging on the door with someone demanding Lin Xiu open up right now because they know he's inside, which makes our hero recognize that voice instantly, while Xiao Yu trembles in fear, warning that those guys came back, but the MC tells her to stay calm and take a step back, right when the door gets kicked open and loan sharks barge in demanding the debt that's 3 days overdue in Boss Yong's name, with the thug saying stalling is useless and it's better to just beat him to a pulp right away, leaving Lin Xiu staring at them with a cold gaze as he remembers these scumbags perfectly, triggering a bitter memory from the past where he got beaten like a dog bleeding from his arms, remembering the blonde loan shark mocking him while holding his head and saying he should have thought about that before borrowing money, while the thugs laughed in his face and his little sister cried desperately on the floor, begging them to stop the beatdown. But back to reality, our MC just stares at the guy stating he already paid the amount owed, asking what else they want here, to which the smug debt collector replies that paying the principal doesn't even come close to settling the bill, making Lin Xiu realize instantly that they're charging compound interest that was never agreed upon from the start, which catches the loan shark off guard by the sheer audacity of the reply. But he quickly puffs his chest back out, saying that's the rule of the market, and if he wants to complain he should blame himself for reaching out to Brother Yang, making way for the chubby thug to draw a knife, saying a broke beggar in debt needs to know his place, pointing the blade right at the kid's face, and ordering him to drop to his knees right now to beg for mercy, while Xiao Yu panics from behind, warning that all of them are class bearers, but our MC simply catches the knife with his bare hand, flashing a sinister smile, noticing something very interesting from that contact, realizing that even without impressive stats showing on the screen, his physical body is already way stronger than normal, making the demonic entity laugh in the spiritual realm, saying he's pretty sharp to catch on, explaining that with the Lord of Greed attribute his stat growth is 10 times higher than other warriors, even though he doesn't gain points just by leveling up normally, showing that the only way to get insanely overpowered is by completing the quests of greed. And right then the bully tries to lunge while cussing at the kid, but Lin Xiu bends the knife with his bare fingers, calling them all a bunch of leeches, warning that things are different now, unleashing a strike so crazy that it sends the chubby guy flying down the hallway like a sack of potatoes, leaving the other two cronies with their jaws dropped completely stunned by that power, rushing over to check on the fat guy sprawled on the floor, while his little sister stands dumbfounded, asking since when her brother got this strong, until the blonde leader totally loses his temper and leaps forward in a rage, using a skill to attack, screaming that he'll show the real difference between an ordinary human and a true class bearer, at which point the mark of greed glows brightly on our hero's hand, making the MC block the strike with his bow in the blink of an eye, warning that he has no time to waste on trash, sending the loan shark into total panic as he realizes the kid has also awakened as a class bearer, which catches even his own sister off guard, not knowing when this happened, making the coward scream in desperation, calling for his long-haired partner, who pulls out a staff and conjures a huge fireball, telling the kid not to get so cocky. But Lin Xiu casually uses the blonde loan shark as a human shield with complete chill, dodging the hit while slamming the leader into the floor with a precise strike, staring at the fireball coming straight at him without even flinching, and then lands a brutal stomp right in the middle of the blonde guy's chest, kicking the guy's body straight into the mage trying to attack, leaving the head collector knocked out cold on the floor groaning in pain, while the last thug begins shaking from head to toe, unable to understand where this monster came from, until in an act of sheer desperation he raises his flaming staff, screaming that he'll drag Lin Xiu down to hell with him. But before he can even finish the incantation, our MC appears right in front of him with a magic arrow aimed point blank at his face, warning with a terrifying glare that if the smoke alarm in the house beeps even once, he'll slice him into 119 pieces and hang him from the fire station fence, making the thug break into a cold sweat, swallowing his pride before that raw bloodlust, dropping to his knees with trembling legs, and begging for his life, saying he completely surrenders, making Lin Xiu ask if the circus is over and order him to run back and deliver a message to his boss. Pulling the bowstring with complete calm, and firing an arrow, which grazes right past the guy's head, the wind pressure nearly tearing the coward's face off from sheer terror, and creating a spectacular shockwave down the entire street. With our MC warning that if they ever bother his family again, he'll personally teach their boss some manners, dispelling the energy bell and telling the guy to pick up those 2 sacks of trash off the floor and get lost, making the thug carry his unconscious partners on his back and run off screaming, promising to disappear right away. While Xiaoyu stands in the hallway staring at her brother with a look of pure shock, looking him up and down as if she's seeing a stranger, until she suspiciously asks if he's really her brother or if he got possessed by some immortal master, making the guy laugh and say she's been reading way too many novels, assuring her with a smile that he's 100% her real brother, thinking to himself that reincarnating doesn't really count as possession. But the girl calls his attention again with a worried look, reminding him that since he just beat up Boss Yong's thugs, they'll definitely send reinforcements for payback, making Lin Xiu think about that Zhang Yang, who's a level 25 berserker and leader of the feared Fierce Tiger Gang, a brute who doesn't do talking, until the girl notices her brother's dark expression and asks what he's thinking with that scary look, at which point he plays it off with a smile and pats her head saying it's just a minor issue, until suddenly the guy's eyes widen upon noticing something terrible, pulling the girl's arm abruptly to take a closer look, seeing the purple markings of the terrible Tower Mark syndrome spreading across her skin, getting totally shocked, realizing that Xiao Yu's illness is showing up way earlier and far more aggressively than in his past life, until the girl pulls her arm back startled, trying to hide the pain with a weak smile and saying she's fine and he shouldn't worry about anything, quietly heading off to her room to change clothes and cook breakfast. While Lin Xiu remembers that behind the scenes the Fierce Tiger Gang acts as the dirty henchman for the Yaoxin Consortium itself, deciding that as soon as he gathers enough power he'll collect every single cent of interest that cursed corporation owes him from Zhang Yang, remembering with grief that in the other timeline his little sister couldn't hold on and passed away a year later, precisely because back then he was dead broke with no money to afford the expensive treatment meds. But now that he reincarnated with all his memories of the future, he already knows exactly where to find her true salvation, knowing for certain that the key to curing the illness is locked inside the secret realm hidden on the first floor of the tower. Meanwhile, back at the Fierce Tiger Gang headquarters, tempers are flaring up, with the big boss slamming the table furious to learn he sent 3 class bears to collect a simple debt and all 3 came back wrecked. Glaring at the henchman kneeling battered on the floor, unable to believe that pathetic disgrace, revealing the feared Zhang Yang gripping his heavy weapon, asking if all the cash spent raising these good-for-nothings went straight down the drain, while the long-haired goon tries to make excuses, trembling in fear, saying the kid was too strong and none of them stood a chance, right when the boss's hand swings up, landing a massive slap that sends the underling flying across the hall, leaving the poor guy sprawled on the floor unconscious and drooling, while the brute spits on the floor calling him useless garbage, announcing for everyone to hear that nobody makes a mess and walks away clean in his gang's territory, leaving the other thugs frozen in fear seeing the giant mace slammed right beside them, roaring at the thugs to stop slacking off and hunt down that kid to drag him here immediately, sending a horde of armed goons sprinting to the streets to hunt down our MC, while the gang leader vows with a murderous glare that he'll teach the consequences of messing with Zhang Yang. Far away from there, at the gate of a luxury estate, the guard adjusts his cap, scoffing at the claim that they're friends with the owner, shoving Lin Xiu's chest with disdain and telling him to look in the mirror to see how ragged he looks, openly mocking him and asking if our boy seriously thinks he's high class enough to know the rich people living here, making little Xiaoyu tug at her brother's shirt in embarrassment, asking if he got the address wrong, which makes the cocky guard think he cracked the case, accusing the 2 siblings of being thieves trying to break in and steal, at which point our MC's gaze turns razor sharp, twisting the guard's fingers in a flash, telling him to get his hands off his sister, and warning him to call the mansion owner Jun Yushuan right now to verify his identity, leaving the guard screaming in pain as his hand gets nearly crushed, trying to draw his baton by force, and threatening to kill the kid if he doesn't let go. But Lin Xiu just keeps staring at the guy with chilling coldness, until the obnoxious honking of a pink sports car cuts right through the chaos, with the driver yelling furiously from behind the wheel asking if the guard is blind and can't see he's been waiting for ages, demanding to know why the estate gate is still shut, sending the guard into a panic, apologizing that he got held up by 2 thieves trying to sneak in, catching the pink-haired driver's attention, who recognizes our hero instantly and hops out hyped, greeting the MC with a fist bump, revealing himself as his good friend Wang Yu. While the security guard tries to suck up, saying those two bums were pretending to be his friends and that he was just about to kick them out, making young Master Wang turn his head, fuming with rage, asking if that guard lost his mind, landing a brutal kick right to the guard's face and screaming who is the idiot that hired a clown like this to call his bro a beggar, telling the guard to get out of his face forever while the MC watches his wealthy friend set things straight. Remembering that Wang Yu was his best friend from college and heir to the powerful Wang merchant family, who in his past life awakened as the Great Shield Knight, becoming super famous among combatants as a respected tank. But Lin Xiu's expression turns heavy as he recalls his buddy's tragic fate, remembering that in the other timeline his friend was betrayed on the 58th floor of the tower while shielding the team, dying brutally to monster claws and driving the entire Wang family into ruin and suicide, until the pink-haired guy turns back curious, asking what kind of mess Lin Xiu got himself into to come looking for shelter right now. To which our MC casually replies that he just beat the crap out of the feared Zhang Yong's thugs, leaving his friend flabbergasted, making Wang Yu freak out, asking how he had the guts to provoke a mad dog like that who runs local crime, quickly suggesting they head inside the mansion since the street is no place to talk about this. But Lin Xiu reassures his buddy, saying he'll take care of his problem with the gang leader personally, gently nudging his little sister forward and only asking his friend to watch over Xiaoyu for a few days in the safety of his house, leaving the young master confused as to why it sounds like Lin Xiu himself won't be staying hidden with them, to which our hero explains that he has much more urgent matters to handle and needs to enter the Tower of Babel right now, making Wang Yu think it's a joke, asking if he's talking about that famous board game, while the girl brags, saying her brother is already an official class bearer, leaving his friend even more stunned as the girl throws air punches, proudly bragging that he crushed 3 warriors at once, while Lin Xiu focuses on his real goal of entering the tower to find the ultimate cure for his sister, looking at both of them with unshakable determination, promising himself that in this life he won't just change his own fate, but will also save every single one of their lives, until the girl and his friend whisper that he's acting totally different and spacing out, making our MC tell him to keep it down, mentioning that the thugs won't dare trespass into this high-end area, and that's why he's taking off already, stopping suddenly before walking away to give one final piece of advice, warning Wang Yu with a dead serious stare to never pick the Shield Knight class in his life, leaving the two of them behind totally confused without understanding a single thing about that bizarre warning. Shortly after, our MC arrives at the bustling commercial plaza around the Tower of Babel, surrounded by merchants shouting deals on potions and items, vendors pitching armor and gear at unmissable prices, and blacksmiths hammering non-stop amidst the deafening noise of that market, with Lin Xiu walking with his hands in his pockets focused strictly on his goal, until a shady merchant tries to sell potent rat poison, claiming it's the secret key to clearing the first floor, but our MC cuts him off on the spot, saying the monsters have high poison resistance, and tells him to go scam some other fool, leaving the scammers impressed, thinking they just bumped into a seasoned combat veteran, while Lin Xiu notices that these black market fake potion peddlers belong to Zhang Yong's gang, but the news of the beatdown he delivered hasn't reached this place yet. As he reaches his destination, gazing at the colossal entrance of the massive structure, knowing that the Tower of Babel has already existed for 10 years and the first floor was fully explored and cleared by humanity a long time ago, but remembering that the secret realm hidden on that very floor wouldn't be discovered until a week later, when a rookie party from the Yaoxing Consortium itself stumbled upon the entrance by pure accident, acquiring the invaluable active crystal source core, which triggered a massive frenzy across the entire city with multi-million-dollar auctions, and most importantly, revealing that this crystal core holds the miraculous power to cure Tower Mark syndrome, stepping through the glowing portal that leads straight into the abandoned city of the first floor, swearing with everything he's got that in this life he will take the core before the corporation to cure his little sister once and for all, stepping over the rubble of that destroyed landscape filled with old memories, watching the wind blow through the empty ruins, knowing that finding the secret realm entrance among so many fallen buildings is tough, but remembering the exact route, when suddenly several creatures crawl out from the rubble, making the boy notice that the local monsters were way too quick to surround the area, with even more giant mutant rodents popping up, showing that he's completely surrounded by modified giant rats, the most common creatures on that floor, at which point Lin Xiu channels his demonic energy, summoning the Bow of Greed, finding it awesome that the pack showed up because he's going to use all these creatures to hit his daily shot quota, and letting loose a precise shot that blows the monster's head apart, prompting the system screen to announce that the level 1 rat has been eliminated, granting 15 experience points. While the MC checks the tally and sees that the hit increased his max health by 1 point, reaching 1,573 points, but the threatening shrieks keep echoing from all over, showing that our boy is completely surrounded by a true tide of monsters, finding it weird that so many huge rats are packed into one place, watching the entire swarm charge all at once, making Lin Shu dodge with agility, slicing one of the beasts mid-leap, firing upward point blank and stacking more effective shots while his max health rises to 1,575, sending another monster flying away with a quick kick, and pumping arrow after arrow without giving the critters a single second of breathing room, noticing that the amount of enemies is way more insane than back when he visited this floor in the past. Thinking that if he had fallen into a trap like this in his previous life, he would have died and reincarnated 12 years earlier, building up momentum to leap high up onto a shattered beam, proudly remembering that he now carries the experience of humanity's strongest mercenary, drawing several magic arrows at once and asking if that pack really thinks they can bring him down, unleashing a spectacular barrage that shreds dozens of rodents in seconds. But our hero's thirst for battle doesn't stop there, and he wants way more, continuing to spray shots in every direction to farm stats like there's no tomorrow, pulling the bowstring at an insane speed that turns his fingers into a blur, passing the 8,900 shot mark and telling those monsters to turn into max health for his build, until the count surpasses 10,000 shots with more than 10 hours left on the quest timer, showing he'll smash the goal with plenty of room to spare, right when the system alerts that Lin Su reached level 5 as an archer and can choose one of 3 available skills, opening up choices between Covetous Keen Eye, which analyzes enemies, Split Arrow for area damage, and Swift Step to gain 100% movement speed for 3 seconds, making our MC flash that grin of someone who isn't playing around, deciding to simply take all the skills at once while the demon Asmodeus laughs, approving the kid's greed, activating the hidden trait Avarice from the Lord of Greed class, which lets him steal every skill option upon leveling up, clenching his fist to learn Covetous Keen Eye at level 1, and unlocking Split Arrow and Swift Step at the exact same time, activating his new golden eyes to scan the battlefield, clearly seeing the rats' levels, the attacks they're going to use, and the detail that no items will drop from them, using Swift Step to sprint at high speed while mocking that the item drop rate on this first floor is still absolute garbage, watching another group of monsters try to pounce on him in desperation, but he activates Split Arrow to scatter his shots and wipe out the pack in midair, while a new wave of mutant creatures approaches through the cracks between the buildings, catching our warrior's attention, until the beasts suddenly turn around and flee into the darkness, leaving Lin Shu intrigued, knowing that these monsters don't feel fear and are probably just falling back to set up the next wave, when the surrounding walls start cracking with a heavy vibration, making the boy realize the break was way too short, and another massive swarm has already arrived, getting flanked from behind through the collapsing rubble, ending up completely cornered while his speed skill is still on cooldown, taking multiple bites and scratches all at once, only to look on blankly and realize the beast's attacks barely hurt at all, cracking a sinister smile as he realizes what just happened, looking at his ridiculous health bar with over 10,000 points and wondering what the hell he was even afraid of, telling the monsters to bring it on as he draws his bow right in the middle of that cluster, releasing a colossal burst of arrows that pulverizes the surrounding rodents into tiny pieces, daring that swarm to see which runs out first, their numbers or his bottomless health, until a massive monster rises right behind our MC, who steps back and sees a monstrous abomination of metal and flesh roaring right above Lin Shu, surprising our MC for bumping into this beast on his very first raid in this life, recognizing the infamous amalgamated modified giant rat, a hidden boss of the first floor whose summoning conditions were considered a mystery, finding this a stroke of massive luck and instantly activating Covetous Keen Eye at level 1, discovering through the system screen that this level 15 hidden boss only has a chance to appear near the secret route after a player kills over 10,000 modified giant rats, analyzing the monster's full skill list, which includes Corrosive Acid Spit, Monstrous Crush that takes half the target's max health, splitting into smaller rats, and an insane regeneration of 5% health per second, thinking that for any normal party this passive regen would be an absurd broken nightmare. But for his current situation, it only means one thing: the perfect opportunity to endlessly shoot arrows into the boss to hit his quota, right when the creature winds up its acid spit, blasting a corrosive stream right at our hero, who activates Swift Step at level 1 to dodge in midair in the blink of an eye, watching the venom melt the concrete walls while praising the potency of that acid, remembering that in his past life he wouldn't even dream of taking on a beast of this scale before clearing the entire first floor, until the boss activates its fission skill and splits into a shower of dozens of smaller rats, making the rodents drop from above ready to pounce, while Lin Shu thinks that missing the arrow rain skill makes it harder to save mana. But he activates Split Arrow at level 1, saying he actually loves this move from the enemy, raining down magical shots that hit multiple targets simultaneously and trigger valid hit alerts non-stop, pushing his daily quest progress past 18,500 shots as he gets surrounded by the creatures. He sees the giant monster fuse back together on top of the building and crash down with everything for an attack, executing the feared monstrous crush that triggers a massive ground explosion, making our boy dodge right on the edge, knowing that skills dealing percentage-based max health damage are his biggest threat right now, but remembering that almost nobody knew this destructive strike is actually the monster's fatal weakness, since crushing its own spawn leaves it stunned and weakened. Knowing from personal experience that any seasoned party would use a shield warrior to round up the spawn and bait the boss into making a mistake, opening a free damage window, he draws his bow and tells the creature to be a good boy so he can farm his daily quest in peace, peppering the helpless boss with dozens of arrows while the screen confirms valid hits non-stop, noticing that the monster is about to snap out of its weakened state, which would be the panic moment for any normal low-damage party, since the only way to avoid a massacre was locating the fusion core hidden inside that body, which is why countless teams were wiped out in the past. When he activates his eye skill, easily finding the brain rat hidden inside the beast's chest, mocking that finding weak points is his greatest specialty, aiming a precise arrow right at that spot, remembering that if you wait for the weakness to pass it becomes super easy to see where the rats cluster, letting out a confident laugh, remembering that the very first combat report on this hidden boss was personally written by him in his past life, right as he lets loose a shot that pierces the armor, destroying the monster's brain core and sending the beast into pure panic, completely unable to control itself, and asking if they can keep the game going, pulling the bowstring non-stop even with his fingers raw and bleeding from the constant strain. He takes advantage of the monster's regeneration to stack valid hits without letting it die too fast, firing a continuous barrage of arrows that makes the boss scream in agony, causing the demon god Asmodeus to manifest in shock, asking if the kid's pain receptors are broken since just moving his fingers should hurt like hell, to which the MC replies without hesitation that the demon should worry about whether the rat will survive long enough for him to hit his daily quota, reaching the incredible mark of 29,997 shots, ticking up to 29,998 counted shots, readying the last 2 arrows to finally wrap up the job in style, telling the beast to hold tight because it only takes 2 more shots to send it straight to the afterlife, when suddenly a blast of fire and lightning magic grazes past his face, catching our MC by surprise, with a storm of spells crashing right onto the weakened boss's head, making Lin Shu click his tongue in anger, unleashing a thunderous explosion of fire that swallows the entire monster, reducing the hidden boss to ashes amidst the flames, until the system's global announcement rings out declaring that the 4th raid party of the Yaoxing Consortium has eliminated the first floor hidden lord, with the intruder stepping out of the smoke laughing and cheering that they hit the jackpot by stealing the kill, revealing the team led by level 18 spearman Captain Lu Wei, accompanied by a tank and mages already dreaming about fat company bonuses, grabbing the green loot chest dropped by the boss to see what valuable items came out, right when our MC grabs the captain's wrist, locking his movement in place, calling the guy a brat and asking if he was blind not to see who was fighting there, making the spearman pull his arm back with an arrogant mocking smirk, asking with his whole team gathered around if our MC actually has the guts to challenge the mighty Yaoxing Consortium over boss rewards. Lin Shu stares down the group in front of him, instantly recognizing the 4th raid party of the Yaoxing Consortium, remembering that in his past life this was a rising team hyped up by the company because of the seamless teamwork between the 4 members, where Spearman Li Wei was the primary damage dealer while warrior Fang Dayong held the line with his heavy hammer, backed by mage Chen Xiaoxiao for area fire support and priest Shen Jin healing everyone non-stop. But on the 69th floor of the tower they ended up completely annihilated by a space monster due to a total lack of crowd control skills, paying dearly for clinging to that power of friendship act, opening the door for hiring independent mercenaries like Lin Shu himself, who rose to fame after their downfall, seeing their setup now as pretty basic. He thinks that running into these corporate snobs was the best possible coincidence, right when the demon snake Asmodee whispers in his ear, reminding him that he's still 2 shots short of the quest quota, suggesting with a sinister chuckle that those 4 guys are the perfect targets to finish the job, assuring that with the kid's current strength it wouldn't be hard at all to run right over the entire squad, making violent whispers echo in the MC's mind, urging him to smash their faces in, while the arrogant punks mock him, thinking our boy went silent from fear upon hearing the company's name, with the demon coiling around his arm asking to taste his obsession with revenge. But Lin Shu instantly loses his patience and tells the entity to shut up, shoving the snake aside roughly and warning him not to interfere or try to boss him around, making the demon laugh, finding the kid more and more interesting, while the corporate members turn their backs laughing, saying the kid froze in terror and that they'll now take the crystal core to claim rewards from the higher-ups, making Asmodeus ask if he's really going to let those thieves walk away with the prize, to which the MC replies that stealing from him only happens in their next life, coldly calculating that at level 5 it would be annoying to chase down each one if they scattered, and that killing people there would draw unwanted attention from witnesses, suddenly changing the subject and asking the entity what that demonic prison he mentioned earlier is actually like, making the demon cackle, explaining that it's an ancient realm used to exile great sinners packed with elite monsters that would tear the kid to shreds in a second. To which our MC flashes a sly grin, asking if being elite monsters means the experience and item drops would be way higher, shamelessly deciding to fail the daily quest so he gets sent straight there to level up faster, letting the tally lock at 29,998 shots, leaving the entity shocked by the kid's madness, but warning that he won't stop anyone eager to die. Right when Lin Shu calls out to the party of adventurers who were already walking away, calmly telling them he has no personal grudge against them, and will give them one final chance to hand over what they took the easy way, leaving the 4 members in dead silence for a second, until they burst out laughing, mocking the kid's audacity and asking if he lost his mind, thinking he's in any position to give chances, with Captain Li Wei holding up the green crystal cube saying that it belongs to the Yaoxing Consortium now, daring the kid to try and take it back if he's brave enough, threatening that even if the boy isn't afraid of the corporation, he still has dozens of ways to give him a truly gruesome death, making our hero simply offer a calm, unfazed smile, while the daily quest timer officially expires, registering the incomplete count, opening a blazing red portal on the ground under the MC's feet right in front of the squad, triggering the system punishment as Lin Shu gets dragged into the abyss, warning the traitors that he'll settle scores with them the moment he gets out, being transported directly to the first floor of the demonic prison known as the Bloodfire Desert, falling through the dimensional rift into the middle of the wasteland, and landing on the ground with the bow of greed in hand, while Asmodeus takes a deep breath, praising the familiar cozy smell of the monster prison, right when a massive red alert flashes on screen, warning that the creatures in this area far exceed the player's power, and ordering immediate evacuation, making the snake ask if he's not even going to look at the danger warnings, to which the MC snaps back, telling him to cut the small talk and asking where those promised elite monsters are, since he doesn't see any around, until a claw tries to swipe at him, forcing the boy to leap backward as the claw bursts from beneath the ground, quickly activating Covetous Keen Eye at level 1 to analyze the creature rising from the depths, identifying the beast as a level 25 demonic prison biter specialized in underground ambushes, impressed to run right into a creature higher level than the previous boss, checking the beast's skills, which include Subterranean Charge, acidic fluid that cuts target defense by 20% for 30 seconds, and a barrage of bone blades shot from its back, right when the monster's gaping maw lunges in for a bite. But our MC uses his bow to partially block the strike, making Lin Shu impressed by the sheer speed of the hit, getting surprised seeing his health bar plunge to 14,000 points out of nearly 31,000 from a single bite, while the spikes in the beast's back begin glowing and Asmodeus yells, warning him to watch out, triggering the bone blade barrage that hits the boy point blank, shaving off hundreds of health points in rapid succession. Realizing he's trapped in the bite, unable to dodge, and needs to break free before things get out of hand, putting on that psychopathic glare and asking who's gonna let go of who in this game, catching the demon's attention, who gets curious seeing the kid's stance, shoving the bow right down the creature's throat and activating Split Arrow with triple max overload, blowing up the monster's mouth from the inside out with multiple consecutive arrows, repeating overloaded shots non-stop in an ongoing slaughter, obliterating the level 25 monster and securing over 1,000 experience points, recalling the classic bow technique called Keen Eye Shotgun he created in his past life to deal insane point-blank damage without aiming, slumping down to catch his breath while joking and asking if his life flashing before his eyes now comes with a replay feature, making Asmodeus cackle, saying that this trick of squeezing out maximum damage perfectly explains why his soul could awaken the Shard of Greed, to which Lin Shu gets up telling the demon to stop wasting time because he's on the clock, mockingly asking if the dreaded demonic prison is really just this, making the entity tell him to look behind him, where an actual army of massive high-level beasts surrounds him, making our hero look at that colossal swarm of elite monsters with his eyes sparkling with excitement, raising his bow with the maniacal grin of someone who finally found the perfect paradise to farm stats and get infinitely stronger. Right then, the ground trembles with the deafening charge of dozens of monsters, while our hero's crosshair immediately locks onto the first level 25 demonic prison biter, identifying right after a monstrous winged beast called Sulamite, also at level 25, leaving Lin Shu completely surrounded by sharp claws and jaws ready to tear his flesh, until one of the creatures lunges to attack, making our boy activate Swift Step at level 1 to glide in midair and mock that now this place is actually looking like a real hell, activating the skill Split Arrow at level 1 mid-leap, unleashing a barrage that hits multiple targets at once and makes effective shot alerts pop all over the screen, when suddenly he senses a presence striking straight from his blind spot, spinning his body in midair with a clean kick right into the center of the abomination's mouth, noticing through the system that a level 25 molten iguana is attacking from the sky, right when a long, slimy reptile tongue shoots from the shadows and wraps around our MC's chest, revealing the attack of a level 25 Sulachata beast trying to drag him to his death. But the MC asks if the beast really likes using its tongue that much, firing an arrow point blank that cuts the creature's tongue clean in half, landing on the ground with supreme elegance as the severed piece hits the dirt, watching the massive shadows of monsters close the circle around him once again, flashing a cold smile and finding the situation absolutely perfect, pulling the string of the bow of greed with everything he's got, as the beasts roar thirsty for blood, intentionally letting the teeth of one beast tear into his arm, using the pain itself as fuel to pull the magic string at an unbelievable speed, activating Split Arrow to dump the concentrated impact straight inside the beast's body, tanking punctures to his abdomen without blinking while returning fire point blank at another monster, declaring with a crazed look that now the real slaughter begins, stacking dozens of valid hit notifications that cover his view of the battle, leaving Asmodeus stunned upon understanding the kid's suicidal tactic, intentionally tanking basic hits to secure max arrow connections and using the max health increase as constant healing, finding it crazy how this kid seems to love danger and enjoys fighting on the edge of death, until the system notifies that Lin Shu broke through the level 10 barrier as an archer and can choose a new skill, making the MC tell the screen to shut up and demand all skills at once. Learning Armor-Piercing Arrow, which ignores 15% of target defense, and Swift Slide to turn into a damage-immune phantom for a moment with a 45-second cooldown, along with unlocking Imprisonment Arrow that summons iron chains to paralyze the enemy, celebrating that his farming efficiency will skyrocket now, when everything around starts violently shaking, revealing a colossal arm emerging from the depths of the lava, bringing forth the feared level 30 demonic prison lord, Magma Warden, who roars furiously asking who gave the intruder permission to rest, to which our hero mockingly asks what kind of nonsense that is, warning that his time is running out and telling the monster to bring it on already, jumping into the air to fire 2 heavy arrows straight at the Titan's head, but the arrows ricochet off the armored helmet like hitting a mountain of metal, making Lin Shu impressed by the creature's ridiculous resilience, right when the monster's giant hammer swings down at high speed, smashing the ground with colossal force that pulverizes the surrounding rocks, kicking up a cloud of smoke where the MC coughs and Asmodeus tells the kid to stop playing around, and we see the MC with only 2,000 health points left out of the nearly 40,000 he had, while Asmodeus panics, warning that he can't reach the monster's defense and will actually die if he doesn't dodge until time expires, but our MC lifts his head saying he already knows death very well, and asking the snake how many levels he'll jump if he kills this level 30 boss, leaving the demon terrified by his sheer audacity. But the kid uses his enhanced vision to lock his aim onto the weak tendon of the wrist, holding the hammer, making Asmodeus scream in panic, telling him to stop, because if the kid dies, the demon dies too, right when Lin Shu realizes why the entity has been so chatty from the start, firing Armor-Piercing Arrow with surgical precision straight into the Titan's vulnerable joint, tearing a roar of agony from the beast as it loses control and drops the heavy hammer to the floor, making the screen confirm the monster's defense was pierced, and it entered a weakened state, with our MC telling the boss to consider this terrible bad luck, and loading his magic bow with multiple arrows ready for the execution, warning that nobody stands in his way, leaving the demon snake speechless, admitting that this kid really is a lunatic without limits. Until the announcement confirms that Lin Xiu defeated the level 30 Lord Magma Warden, raking in over 3,000 experience points and jumping straight to level 12, picking up the demonic prison crystal core dropped by the boss and wondering if the monsters here drop these rare cores too, when the notification alerts that his punishment time has successfully concluded and he will be teleported back immediately, opening a magic circle under the MC's feet in the middle of the desert, making the boy desperately try to hold on to the portal, begging to stay a little longer and farm a few more monsters, getting swallowed by the dimensional vortex against his will, and falling right back into the ruins of the first floor of the Tower of Babel, letting out a frustrated sigh, grumbling that the system is way too stingy for not letting him kill 2 more beasts to level up, while Asmodeus quietly reflects on the kid's attitude, remembering all the previous wielders of the artifact who were just greedy gamblers throwing their lives away and dying pathetically, knowing for absolute certain that this kid is built different and has what it takes to win, until Lin Xiu looks down at his empty hands, asking where the core he was holding went, making the demon explain that cores can't be carried physically and are automatically converted by the system, telling the boy to open his status screen and check, at which point the notification confirms that the core exchange was a success, and the Bow of Greed received the new trait Reckless Harvest, revealing the skill Life Arrow, which consumes up to 1% of the user's max health to convert that value directly into bonus damage on the next shot, leaving Lin Xiu super satisfied seeing his damage scale with his massive health pool, while Asmodeus lasts, telling him to go test this new power on those consortium bastards. As soon as he steps back onto the first floor, a new daily quest window pops up right in front of Lin Xiu, revealing the challenge, Money Supremacy, which requires offering 1 million gold coins to Asmodeus in exchange for exclusive gear at the cost of losing half his max health upon failure, making the demon snake laugh in his face, saying that scraping together that much cash is way harder than just shooting arrows, while the MC complains that this quest is complete trash, making a disgusted face, asking what kind of lame punishment this is, wanting to know where his beloved demonic prison sentence went, coldly calculating that losing half his max health would be a piece of cake to recover by shooting more arrows, while the experience and stats from the prison are the fastest route to get strong and unlock new strategic options, leaving Asmodeus completely speechless before that kid's sheer insanity, admitting that hearing him put it that way, the punishment really does sound more like a reward, so he tweaks the system screen, adding an extra reward granting 4 hours of direct access to the demonic prison and mockingly asking if he's satisfied now, to which Lin Xiu keeps his bored face, saying that since he was changing it, he could have just made it 7, 8, or 10 hours, telling the demon to go work as a floor manager, making the entity tell him to stop fooling around because anyone else would have died hundreds of times in those 4 hours, until our hero notices something strange on the ground, bending down to touch the dust and identifying fresh marks from recent combat, noting that the tracks run straight down that narrow corridor, with Asmodeus commenting that it's probably the work of those idiots from before, and asking which wrong, to which Lin Xiu stands up summoning his bow and explaining that the big problem is that this narrow path is the only route leading to the secret realm, spotting the glowing entrance portal right at the end of the alley, realizing that the consortium party already entered the secret realm a week earlier than he remembered, suspecting that the corporation covered up the news for a while before announcing it to the city, shrugging with a sarcastic smirk, saying he couldn't care less about what they think, and stepping through the portal, confident that the active crystal core will be his, no matter what. Inside the biochemical laboratory of the secret realm, that team of clowns is busy fighting, where a colossal creature roars in fury while getting bombarded with fire and lightning, with Captain Liu Wei yelling at Warrior Daong to hold the front line and telling Priest Shen Jin to cast the strength buff, making the cleric cast Blessing of Strength, telling the leader not to scream in his ear, coating the fighters' bodies in a golden energy of boosted attack power, making the Hammer Brood celebrate that he feels power surging through his muscles, while the captain leaps up channeling lightning into the tip of his spear, thrusting the electric attack with full force toward the giant monster, activating the skill Thunder Dragon Charge, landing a direct hit on the secret realm ward, who enters an electric paralysis state, celebrating that the plan is working like a charm, right when Mage Chen Xiaoxiao yells from the back telling the two of them to get out of the way quick, raising her staff with a colossal vortex of fire and warning she won't take blame as she blows up her allies too, crashing the flaming storm down upon the helpless boss, telling the creature to drop dead, making the monster roar in agony as it gets completely charred by the flames, kicking up a massive explosion that shakes the entire laboratory structure until the massive body of the abomination collapses defeated onto the floor, leaving the tank and mage laughing, thinking the boss was way too easy, bragging that their squad is just overpowered, celebrating that they hit the jackpot, bagging 2 hidden bosses on the same trip, and wondering how much that crystal core is worth, while the priest adjusts his glasses, telling them to stop asking dumb questions so they don't get disciplined by corporate executives, making the spearman ready a coup de grace with his spear to finish the beast off for good, when suddenly a glowing purple arrow comes tearing through the lab ceiling at high speed, making the captain's eyes go wide, seeing the armor-piercing arrow whistle right over his head, piercing straight into the boss's core and landing a critical strike that vaporizes the creature, prompting the system screen to announce to everyone that player Lin Shu has successfully eliminated the secret realm lord, leaving adventurers across the first 4 city dumbfounded, not knowing who this Lin Shu guy is who just stole another boss, while Captain Lu Wei turns beet red in rage with veins bulging on his face, screaming furiously to find out what brainless worm had the nerve to steal a monster from the Yaoxing Consortium, right when our hero steps out, mocking all that talk about rules, receiving the notification that he jumped straight to level 14 with his health and mana fully restored, facing the squad and asking with a sarcastic smirk if they're really trying to make him laugh like that, leaving the cleric and mage in shock, recognizing the archer from before, calling out their big buddy who swore nobody was following the team, making Daeong raise his giant hammer, foaming at the mouth after being humiliated by a level 14 kid, while Lin Shu lets out a teasing chuckle and activates Swift Step, dodging the brute's gravity slam by chaining it with a skill Swift Slide to become an intangible phantom, gliding straight between the bodies of both warriors without taking a single scratch, and appearing behind them casually holding the green crystal cube in his hand, leaving the spearman in shock, making the captain break into a cold sweat, recognizing that the kid chained 2 dodge skills with flawless timing to extend invulnerability frames and movement distance, an elite technique only legendary corporate archers master, while Lin Shu inspects the core in his hands and warns that they really shouldn't have provoked him, making the spearman force a sadistic grin, asking if the kid got cocky over that, activating the Marquis of Thunder's set skill called Purple Lightning Flash to show how a true elite combatant fights, leaving the mage in awe, seeing the captain's stance and warning that he's about to drop that fatal strike, making the spearman lunge in the blink of an eye, telling our boy to drop dead, activating the set propulsion that multiplies his speed by 100 times, reaching Mach 3, and applying the sudden death effect upon hitting a vital point, driving the metal spear straight into Lin Shu's heart, while the system confirms the activation of sudden death, with the captain laughing that the kid put on such a show just to die like an idiot, mocking that a broke pauper has never seen the power of an epic tier set that guarantees instant execution. But our MC puts on a mocking smile and asks if the spearman knew that the sudden death effect has a maximum damage cap of 9,999 points before the first class advancement, holding the blade embedded in his own chest and looking at his massive health pool of nearly 55,000 points, warning that when he reaches the 6th floor he'll learn about that cap for next time, but unfortunately he won't get a next time. Captain Li Wei stumbles backward in a cold sweat, unable to understand how on earth a level 14 archer can have such a colossal health bar, while priest Shenjin nervously adjusts his glasses, terrified after realizing the kid jumped from level 9 to 14 in less than 2 hours, watching our MC stand there with a chilling aura, leaving the mage and warrior terrified, wondering what kind of bizarre trial he endured in such a short span of time, until the leader tries to calm his teammates, screaming that they are the glorious elite squad of the Yaoxing Consortium, arguing that even if the kid has that much health, the attack power of a low-level archer shouldn't amount to much, saying that if they hold formation and coordinate their strikes, that boy will become nothing more than a moving target, making Lin Shu flash a sarcastic smile, praising the captain's quick thinking and trying to turn around such a desperate situation, but mockingly reminding them that their squad lacks any crowd control skills, and asking if they really think they can pin him down, leaving the spearman even more rattled, seeing that this stranger knows every single weakness of their lineup inside and out, while our hero summons his bow, telling them not to worry because he has zero intention of running away, guaranteeing that he'll make every last one of them drop to their knees to return the crystal core the easy way or the hard way, making the big guy Daeong completely lose his mind and charge with his heavy hammer, telling the arrogant brat to drop dead, while the captain panics, realizing the MC provoked his partner on purpose to break their team formation, screaming at the priest to cast Blessing of Strength on everyone immediately. The brute rushes in to attack, executing the giant force strike skill, trying to hit our MC, but Lin Shu simply steps right on top of the warrior's helmet in the middle of the attack, vaulting lightly into the air and mocking that the big guy is way too slow, while the others notice his aim has shifted, drawing the bowstring to lock a shot directly onto the team's support, making Mage Chen Xiaoxiao jump into action trying to disrupt the archer's attack, casting flaming meteor rain with a devastating storm of fire, crashing down hard on our hero and kicking up a massive explosion, making the girl celebrate thinking she landed a direct hit, while the captain's eyes go wide realizing the incoming disaster, watching Lin Shu walk right out of the flames without a single scratch readying split arrow, sending the spearman into a panic seeing that the kid didn't even bother dodging a spell like that. As the arrows fly toward Shenjin, who activates a golden shield scoffing that he's no ordinary support, bragging about spending all his savings on top-tier defensive gear, activating the Sacred Light defense skill from his epic pendant, which negates any damage below 300 points, laughing that a few puny arrows won't do anything to him, promising with a sadistic glare that after killing the kid he'll sell all his organs on the black market to recoup the costs, to which our MC simply asks if he's really sure about that, causing the cleric's shield to shatter into pieces that very second under the sheer force of that shot, piercing straight through Shenjin's chest with multiple arrows, sending the priest writhing onto the ground in a pool of blood, prompting the screen to announce that his health hit 0 and the squad's priest just bit the dust, leaving the hammer warrior dumbfounded, unable to comprehend how a split arrow dealt over 300 points of damage, while Lin Shu strolls toward them taunting if they really thought they were the only ones with special gear skills, remembering the reckless harvest effect that drains 1% of his own health to apply monstrous bonus damage to the shot, leaving the mage totally terrified seeing an archer with over 50,000 health points in such an absurd attack power, scrambling to run away in desperation and screaming at Daeong to hold the monster off while she backs up, but our MC glances sideways asking if she seriously thinks she can just run away, firing an arrow and asking who gave her permission to leave, activating imprisonment arrow which makes magical chains erupt and bind the mage, appearing behind the girl like a literal demon while she screams in sheer panic begging him to stay away, right when Daeong charges in a blind rage, unleashing the lightning spark attack with his electrified hammer to try and save his partner, but Lin Shu doesn't even budge and takes the blow right to his chest like it's absolutely nothing, aiming his energized bow loaded with life arrow right at the mage's head and coldly stating that's 2 down, letting the shot fly to obliterate the girl instantly while the screen confirms the elimination of the squad's mage, leaving Captain Li Wei paralyzed with fear and desperation yelling at our boy, while the big warrior tries to attack again screaming and swearing to turn Lin Shu into meat paste, making our MC look up in utter disdain at that predictable strike, activating Swift Slide to sail right over the Warhammer remarking that this dude is way too noisy, flipping upside down in midair and warning that he's next in line, blasting the armor-piercing arrow buffed by max health straight into the brute's skull, making warrior Daeong drop dead onto the ground instantly, with the system prompt confirming another kill, landing smoothly on top of the corpse with his bow still smoking with energy, leaving Captain Li Wei completely alone trembling from head to toe and wondering where the hell this human monster came from, while the MC takes calm steps toward him with the titanic shadow of Asmodeus looming behind his back, warning that now only he remains. Captain Li Wei collapses to the floor in total panic, dropping his spear, shaking from head to toe and breaking into a cold sweat with nowhere left to run, while our MC looks down on him reminding him of the warning he gave earlier, repeating that he would make him drop to his knees and return the crystal core the easy way or the hard way, leaving the spearman grinding his teeth in absolute terror, until he slams his head onto the ground, begging for mercy, screaming that he was blind and deserves to die, pulling out the crystal cube with both trembling hands to hand it over, making the demon Asmodeus cackle saying this kid chickened out way too fast, while Lin Shu simply watches in silence, with the captain extending the artifact swearing that he will hand over the loot right now, but covetous keen eye triggers that exact second, catching the mechanical prosthetic on Liu Wei's arm opening up while charging a hidden gunner skill, firing the epic gear skill called Thunder Fracture point blank to attempt a surprise assassination, releasing an insane blast of electricity straight toward our warrior, making the captain gasp in relief, thinking the raw power of that lightning was more than enough to vaporize the kid, when suddenly Lin Shu appears whispering right into his ear, revealing he was already well aware of the dirty trick of faking weakness to fire the Nuada prosthetic supplied by the corporation, leaving the spearman frozen in horror, unable to comprehend how the kid knew such an intimate secret. To which our MC remarks that dead people don't need to know anything and pulls the bowstring point blank, pulverizing Captain Li Wei and raking in over 8,000 experience points, prompting the system to announce that Lin Shu reached level 15 with health and mana restored, unlocking the skill Hunter's Trap to immobilize targets for 3 seconds with a limit of 3 traps, noting that at level 15 the class skill is fixed without any alternate choices, until the hidden trait of the Lord of Greed class gets triggered by the system, making our MC flash that greedy grin, saying it would be an insult to his class not to squeeze out some extra advantage from it, channeling purple energy to alter the very structure of the Hunter's Trap skill, removing the cap on simultaneous traps and making Asmodeus praise how he's a natural-born master at exploiting the system. Looking next at the 4 corpses scattered across the room, deciding to loot everything of value those snobs were carrying and focusing first on a golden ring he spotted on the cleric's finger, obtaining the storage ring accessory which expands inventory space by 30 cubic meters, slipping the ring onto his finger, pleased to save himself a ton of hassle hauling items, checking the daily quest and seeing that the ring contained over 87,000 gold coins, grumbling that this is still a joke compared to the 1 million goal, with Asmodeus suggesting they could sell those idiots elite armor and weapons to raise some serious cash, to which Lin Shu weighs that selling these items isn't simple at all, since the consortium controls almost all official trade channels. Not to mention standard corporate gear comes with built-in tracking chips that would bring immediate trouble, cracking a wicked smirk and saying it's too bad for the company, conjuring a tiny magic arrow at his fingertips, claiming with confidence that he understands that machinery far better than the consortium itself, shooting the micro arrow into the metallic crest of Fang Dayong's armor, frying the spy chip circuits to prevent the signal from being tracked by headquarters, collecting the Thundershock set that unlocks Purple Lightning Flash, the Rock-Crushing Hammer, the Flame Heart Staff, the Guardian's Pendant, and the Roby of the Sacred Feast, reminding Asmodeus that even if they can't sell in public auctions, there is a place that never asks questions about where goods come from and never checks anyone's identity, and deciding to head straight for the infamous Black Street, with the Serpent urging him to hurry up since the corporation will dispatch reinforcements the moment they notice the chip's signal drop, while the boy heads toward the exit saying daily quests barely matter right now, holding the active crystal core cube with utmost care, focused entirely on the certainty that this miracle item will cure Xiaoyu's illness once and for all. Meanwhile, inside the massive headquarters of the Yaoxing Consortium at the Tower Command Center, the atmosphere is tense inside the main operations room packed with monitors and computers, with an officer saluting before Regional Commander Yan Zhongming, a massive and intimidating man with scars across his face, urgently reporting that the vital signs of the 4th raid party completely vanished 17 minutes ago, confirming that all 4 members including Captain Li Wei had their health dropped to 0 at the exact same instant, enraging the commander upon learning the last recorded location of their chips was inside the biochemical laboratory's secret realm on the 1st floor. Glaring at the screen were photos of the 4 operatives with levels between 16 and 20 are crossed out in red, wondering what kind of monster could wipe out an entire certified squad before they could even send out a distress call, with the operator explaining that the area was out of camera range with 0 witnesses, leaving only a system announcement broadcast 17 minutes ago, making the commander demand to know what announcement that was, pulling up on the monitor that an unknown player named Lin Shu eliminated the boss of that very secret realm, displaying the photo of the kid with the bow and leaving the leader baffled by that unfamiliar name, finding it hard to believe that a gearless, completely anonymous kid stole the boss and wiped out the entire squad solo, even though data confirms it's the only explanation, staying silent for a moment, deciding not to waste time with ordinary soldiers and ordering the deployment of those guys, turning the subordinate pale upon realizing he's talking about the feared Hound Squad, cutting to a sinister underground cell where a man in a straitjacket is strapped to a vertical gurney, muttering like a lunatic. That lunatic right there is Assassin Wei Weia from the consortium's execution department, flashing a psycho grin, begging to be released and promising he will never kill his own teammates again. The scene shifts straight to the maximum security wing of the Yaoxing Consortium's Deep Water Modification Center, where the restrained prisoner flashes a mocking smirk saying it's such an honor to have visitors, revealing Commander Yan Zhongming staring down the guy and asking if Wei Weia knows exactly why he's locked up here, to which the psychotic assassin replies laughing that it's all just pure jealousy from those worms, making the commander remind him that he murdered 3 members of his own team just because they were too slow, with the madman justifying that sluggish teammates only slow down the job and that the company should actually pay him a bonus for streamlining efficiency, making the guard beside him uneasy, asking if the commander is really sure he wants to let this guy loose, making the leader order them to slap the containment device on him right away, opening an armored briefcase revealing a heavy metal collar loaded with high tech, locking the device onto the assassin's neck while the commander explains that the loyalty collar boosts his strength and agility by 10%, but warning that if he breaks the rules again, it will blow his head to pieces in the blink of an eye, unlocking the leather restraints that strapped the prisoner to the gurney, making Wei Wuya stretch shirtless celebrating his freedom, and asking what needs to be done, while the commander hands over the reports explaining that the 4th group was wiped out on the 1st floor without witnesses or distress signals, and that their gear chips were destroyed, leaving the assassin laughing with disdain seeing the corporation lost elite soldiers on the very 1st floor, calling the squad a pile of garbage, until his eyes land on the digital file and his expression instantly changes, seeing our protagonist's photo and the report that an archer named Lin Shu eliminated the secret realm boss at that exact same time, making the leader ask if there's an issue, to which the psycho hands the tablet back with a gruesome smile declaring this mission belongs to him now, warning that he'll use his own investigation methods while the commander gives him full authority to act as he pleases, finishing brushing back his hair with a bloodthirsty glare celebrating that he finally has a brand new toy to tear apart. Shortly after, the scene cuts to the luxury Jun Yushuan estate, where the same obnoxious guard from before looks out of the booth window suspiciously, blocking the way and yelling that scavengers aren't allowed inside, asking why a blood-stained beggar is lurking around like a fugitive. But Lin Shu just glares at the guy with that murderous stare that chills anyone to the bone, making the gatekeeper tremble in fear and bow 90 degrees apologizing to young Master Yu's friend, while our MC walks right past mocking if the estate only has enough money to hire 1 guard, arriving at the mansion garden where Wang Yu is watering plants looking utterly stressed, not knowing how to break bad news to his friend, until Lin Shu pops up out of nowhere calling out to his buddy and asking about his sister, making the rich kid spit water in shock, looking at the MC's torn and bloodied clothes, asking if the 1st floor of the tower got so tough that he looks like he got mugged in the street, to which the kid replies that they actually did try to rob him, pulling the glowing epic gear out of his ring and remarking with a cold smile that in their next life those thieves will think twice before testing their luck, leaving Wang Yu in shock, recognizing standard-issue gear of the Yaoxing Consortium, and asking if he actually had the guts to kill corporate members, making Wen Xiu mockingly tell his friend to keep his voice down before the whole neighborhood overhears, with the pink-haired guy grabbing his shoulder in panic saying the MC has a death wish for picking a fight with both the local gang and the city's biggest corporation at the same time. But our hero cuts the talk short saying holding on to these items is risky and asking his friend to take him to Black Street, since doing business there requires someone trusted to bridge the gap, making Wang Yu play dumb saying he knows nothing about this Black Street, to which Lin Shu responds that he's still terrible at lying, remembering full well that the Wang family runs underground operations behind their port logistics facade, something that later drew too many enemies and caused their downfall, leaving the young master awkwardly scratching his head asking how on earth his friend figured out that family secret, making the MC promise a fat cut of the profits once they sell the goods, which makes the rich friend agree instantly saying what really matters is the percentage of the cash, excitedly mentioning that his body has been feeling weird lately and asking if he's about to awaken so they can climb the tower together, making Wen Shu recall his friend's brutal death as a tank and darken his expression right away, gripping Wang Yu's shoulder with absolute firmness, ordering him to never in his life pick the Shield Knight class, leaving the guy confused not understanding how anyone could choose what they awaken, until his friend stops walking with a heavy expression, lowering his head and building up the courage to explain what happened to his little sister while he was away, revealing that little Xiaoyu collapsed in pain right after her brother left the house, explaining that the girl endured the suffering in silence just to avoid worrying anyone, but the family doctor already came and stabilized her with meds, leaving our hero heartbroken asking to be left alone with his sister in the room, sitting beside the girl's bed and thanking his friend for the support, activating the magical glow of his storage ring to take out the active crystal source core, channeling all the crystal's energy over Xiaoyu's body certain that it will finally cure the terrible tower disease, but the light slowly fades away having zero effect, showing the marks remain untouched on the girl's skin and leaving Lin Shu desperate unable to understand anything, gritting his teeth in agony certain that in his memories the consortium used the energy of this exact crystal core to produce the medicine, staring at the cube stunned and wondering why on earth it didn't work, until Asmodeus appears reminding him that his sister's illness also surfaced way earlier than he remembered, hinting that something is wrong with those memories, making Lin Shu's eyes widen with a terrifying realization that makes his blood boil with rage. Reading the real description of the core, which only serves as forging material, enchantment, and unstable mechanical power source. Realizing the Yaoxin Consortium lied to the entire world from the very beginning, discovering that the corporation always kept the true cure under lock and key and merely used the discovery of this crystal as a public excuse to roll out their temporary treatment. While the scene cuts back to Commander Yan yelling at Consortium headquarters furious over losing an entire team on the first floor, looking at the tablet report and deciding to pick any random secret realm to announce the following week that they found the raw material for the cure. Back to our MC, he is consumed with rage realizing the active crystal core doesn't cure Tower Mark syndrome at all. Remembering the corporation's young master and realizing the Yaoxin Consortium uses medical resources solely to treat the population like cattle locked in a pen, until he notices his little sister slowly waking up in bed and looking at him confused, making Xiao Yu pull the blanket startled and complain in embarrassment, asking what her brother is doing standing right there with that scary face while a young lady is sleeping. To which Lin Shu plays it off with an awkward chuckle explaining he heard from Wang Yu that she felt sick and rushed over to check on her, right when the girl spots her brother's raw and bloody fingers, sitting up quickly in bed and telling him not to move at all, worried about how he got hurt so badly. Grabbing the bandages, the doctor left to wrap a dressing full of fancy bows while the boy tries to say his hands are totally fine and the bow is way too flashy, with the little girl putting her foot down and forbidding him from untying it until the wounds heal, making Lin Shu give in with a smile and promise to behave as long as she rests properly, until the girl lowers her gaze thoughtfully and calls out to her brother in a gentle voice, asking hesitantly if the Tower of Babel is too dangerous of a place, while our MC stops peeling an apple to look at his sister, staying silent for a second with a look loaded with heavy memories, only to shove the entire apple straight into the girl's mouth, catching her completely off guard, assuring her with a laugh that she knows full well how strong her brother is, and no tower monster stands a chance against him, making the girl chew and grumble that bad weeds never die, loving to see her so full of energy and telling her to get back to sleep because he has to step out for a bit, pausing at the bedroom doorway before leaving, and promising himself that he will definitely cure his little sister and make the Yaoxin Consortium pay 100 times over for every single lie, while Xiahou Yu watches her brother leave quietly, whispering for him to take better care of himself too, stepping into the mansion hallway where Wang Yu was waiting, leaning against the wall, letting out a dramatic sigh, making a ridiculous pout and whining for the MC to peel some fruit for his mouth too. To which Lin Shu puts his buddy in a headlock, warning that if he wants to eat junk, he'll stuff his throat until he pops, while the rich guy laughs, saying he never saw his friend so affectionate, and found the whole scene adorable, releasing his neck and straightening up to speak seriously, sincerely saying that the Wang family has plenty of resources, and if his friend needs any help taking care of his sister, he just needs to ask instead of keeping everything to himself. Right when the daily quest notification flashes in the MC's mind showing over 87,000 coins collected toward the 1 million goal, with Asmodeus whispering that this is the golden chance to borrow the cash and hit the target right now, making Lin Shu tell the serpent to shut up, showing the storage ring to his wealthy friend and saying that if he wants to help, he should take him straight to Black Street to fence those goods, making Wang Yu sigh and start stalling, saying it's not out of bad will, but demanding his friend take a shower and change clothes first because he's not letting anyone into his sports car looking like a bloodstained bum. Then the scene cuts to the bustling city night, with the pink sports car pulling off a spectacular drift at the entrance of a luxury underground parking garage, leaving patrons and staff stunned by the drift and instantly recognizing the Wang family young master's ride, surrounded by people snapping photos and praising the rich kid's style as he waves smugly in sunglasses, while Lin Shu, now in fresh clothes, watches silently, walking ahead across the red carpet while Wang Yu runs behind, asking why it seems like the MC knows this place better than he does, mocking that staying low profile would be disrespectful to all the wealth his father worked so hard to build, pressing the elevator button and explaining that Black Street has weird rules requiring everyone to cover their face before entering, making our hero put on a black and white mask over his eyes, remarking that he has no problem wearing a mask, until he looks over and sees his friend wearing a bizarre red hood looking like a bank robber, asking if he isn't afraid of attracting the police with an outfit like that, while Wang Yu brags, explaining that these masks cost his father a fortune because they have the magical skill presence concealment built in. arriving at the luxurious hallway guarded by suited bouncers and asking his friend to lead the way since, without him, he couldn't get inside. With the young master tapping his golden watch on the scanner and unlocking VIP access with system confirmation. Stepping into the massive commercial lobby, where Lin Xiu asks with a grin if his friend knows any trustworthy dealer around, making Wang Yu confused since he thought the MC was a regular here, never imagining our hero explored every inch of this market in his past life. While Asmodeus is surprised thinking Blackstreet would be a dark alley, and the boy explains that the only ones bold enough to open such a market right under the noses of major corporations are rival syndicates. Remembering that in 3 years Blackstreet will undergo a massive expansion, rebranding as the Black Moon Commerce Alliance and becoming a colossal underworld power, stopping in front of the Lei Kai tea house while Wang Yu yells out for the boss of the place. Entering a room filled with antiques where a bald elder wearing a golden monocle greets Little Master Wang, surprised by the rare visit, joking that he already knew who it was because of that hideous Wang family hood, making the rich kid point at Lin Xiu saying he brought a new client with top-notch goods. Right when our MC activates his storage ring, calmly stating that he brought high-quality items, dumping the entire haul of armor, staves, hammers, and accessories onto the table, leaving the merchant slack-jawed, making old Jin break into a cold sweat examining the pieces through his lens and recognizing official Yaoxing Consortium gear, noticing all tracking chips were professionally stripped, asking with a suspicious glare where such dangerously hot merchandise came from. To which Lin Xiu coldly replies, telling him not to ask questions about origins, and not to break the sacred rules of Blackstreet, calculating that the Marquis of Thundersec goes for 400,000 on internal rates and the entire lot would top 1 million in a standard auction, and demanding a fair price for rare items nobody can obtain through ordinary channels, making the appraiser seal the deal with a grin from ear to ear, telling them to come back anytime they have goods. This solid. While Wang Yu leaves the shop, whispering and asking why his buddy sold everything for 850,000 coins when the items were worth over 1 million outside, to which Lin Xiu replies that factoring in fencing risk is part of the game. Checking the quest progress bar, which leaps past 937,000 gold coins with 46 hours left on the clock. Pocketing the black market credit card with the received balance, but realizing he's still a small sum short of hitting the 1 million mark, until Wang Yu bumps his shoulder, pointing out a glowing poster announcing the start of the Blackstreet Underground Boxing Tournament with a prize of 100,000 coins, making our MC flash a sharp grin from ear to ear, celebrating that right when he needed extra cash, the perfect opportunity showed up to solve his problem. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel to follow the continuation of this vengeance. Thanks a ton, and see you in the next video.